thought this was the day when we couldn't add any more to the confusion of whether it was a Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael budget, but I guess the seating arrangements has...
At end this budget. But sorry, I shouldn't interrupt you.
And thank you, Minister, for taking the time to come in to us this afternoon. Two things I'd like to say about this budget, I suppose. And first, that I think it will go down in history. And it will go down in history as the Triple F budget, the Fianna Fáil budget, the Fine Gael budget, and then the dilemma of what to do with the other F, the famous fiver. And that doesn't give me any joy in saying that. And I noticed the usual nonsense from Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael regarding the clearly costed alternative that Sinn Féin produced recently. And we make no apology for closing the tax avoidance schemes, and no apology for asking those earning over €2,000 per week to pay a little extra on the amount over the 2,000. They use the same language as they have for the last 10 years, that we have no grasp of economics. Now, our document detailed each and every figure on how much money we had to spend, where it would come from, and what we would spend it on in the years ahead. And I'd like to remind Fianna Fáil that they cost us the tune of 64 billion. I have a 15-year-old son. My son will be 54 years of age before we're finished paying off the Fianna Fáil debt. That is a burden to him and a burden to all 15-year-olds in this country. We have paid almost 40 billion over the last 5 years on interest alone. We pay 7 billion. We're squabbling here over 1.2 billion. We've paid 7 billion servicing the debt of the Fianna Fáil economics each and every year. So I won't take any lectures from Fianna Fáil around economics and budgets not being costed, because I regard Fianna Fáil criticism of our economics as a compliment, and take great comfort that we in Sinn Féin differ so much from the party that drove this country to ruin that they'd like people to forget about. The only figures in the Fianna Fáil alternative budget were the page numbers at the bottom of each page. Many Fianna Fáil representatives protested that it wasn't their job to produce an alternative budget, giving their very unique position in supporting this minority government. Well, if that's the case, then you urgently need to be honest and clear with the people. The budget read out a couple of hours ago was your budget. If, as you say, it does not reflect your ideology, you should vote against it, if your ideology is worth anything. All of us here choose of our own free will to enter politics. Those of us in parties choose which one to join. Politics is about choices. A trick as old as politics itself is to peddle the lie that there is no other choice available. Today's budget was presented as such. That Fianna Fáil may abstain from the vote is another get-out-of-jail card that has been floated. I can tell you that as a public representative for the last 7 years, I've had to deal with the truly awful situations that people were in after you drove the economy to the ground and yet managed to hold on to power. I am certain that many, if not all of these people, now wish you would have abstained from government before you closed our hospital beds and savaged so many other areas that have still to be fully restored. Many of the major issues I've been contacted on have not been addressed today. There is as much made of the small decrease in USC, but this means very little to those who have seen their car insurance premiums double, treble and quadruple in the last number of years. The USC cuts will erode the tax base by 5.6 billion by 2021. That makes this measure very regressive for such a paltry gain. A worker struggling on 20,000 per year will get 190 back every week. Just today, the Nevin Economic Research Institute tweeted during Minister Noonan's speech saying that it was a disastrous move and there was no foundation for recovery. The issue of rents was not addressed. Rent certainty was absent. Indeed, it fell to Sinn Féin to introduce it to the Dáil, and I look forward to the bill being debated in the Seanad tomorrow. This will be an opportunity for Fianna Fáil to show the public that they are not one and the same with Fine Gael, and vote in favour of the bill in accordance with their manifesto. You've announced a €5 increase, as I said, for the old age pension to take effect in 5 months' time. That is 5 long winter months where the increase could have helped with money for fuel, which is hardly covered by the €20-odd a week on fuel allowance. Indeed, I spoke to a woman earlier today, a pensioner from Castlebar, and I said, what do you think of the budget and what are you going to do with your fibre? And she said, there's only one thing I can say. It's disgusting. She said they didn't even think it worthwhile to give us the Christmas bonus back, 85% of it, in the same way that they didn't even think that the pensioners in this country were worth 1 full hour of home help. It's either 30 minutes or 15 minutes or 45 minutes. There was also an opportunity to reverse some of the cuts that cruelly impacted upon the most vulnerable. The 15% cut in funding for children with special education needs could have been reversed, but instead this will have to wait. The disabled child that I went down to Limerick with to get physiotherapy, an 8-mile round trip 2 weeks ago, just to get physiotherapy for that child. The litmus test of this budget is, will that child and that child's family be helped? And it doesn't give me confidence today that they will. The package for first-time buyers, which supposedly will be worth $500 million, will not see one extra house built. I'm beginning to think that even after 6 months the government does not fully understand that we are in a housing crisis. The problem is with supply, so these measures will do nothing to relieve the imbalance between supply and demand. The Sinn Féin budget would have seen a capital investment of €1.23 billion. That is a stark figure that should be compared to the weak, disappointing investment plan announced in the Fianna Fáil-Fine Gael budget today. The real test of this budget will be, will it take the elderly and sick people off trolleys in our hospitals? Will it give one child an extra seat on the school bus? Will it give young people anything extra than €100 a week and told to get out and seek employment on €100 a week? Will it take those young people out of poverty? If this is the best that Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil combined can offer 100 years after the Rising, then it is surely time for an alternative. This should have been a budget where we clearly demonstrated that we cherished all of the children equally, north, south, east and west.
Thank you, Senator. Senator, is it John Dolan or Professor Sullivan? John Dolan.